Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this Introduction to Confluence webinar. My name is Tony Hartsfield. I am a certified Atlassian professional and a consultant at Valiantys. Valiantys is a platinum solutions partner for Atlassian, and I'll talk more about that in the shameless self-promotion plug later in the webinar. During this time together, we're going to spend the next hour taking a dive into the world of Confluence, start with some of the basics about it, and then run into some of the ways that you can really leverage Confluence with your teams and your organizations. So our agenda then for this time, first off, just introducing what is Confluence, and then we'll be reviewing its editing capabilities. There have been a few new features added over the last year and a half or so that we'll cover. So it's becoming a really powerful content management tool. So we'll see how that can be used for reporting purposes. It can also be used as a content portal for IT or non-IT organizations. We'll also need to, I'll show you some of the new content features in there, so it's not just a wiki-style page anymore. We'll briefly touch on the topic of governance with conversations you need to have with your organization as you're using this particular tool. And at the end of the time, we'll have time for a Q&A. There is a Q&A module in this webinar session, so if you'd like to ask questions there, I'll take a look at those questions at the end of our time together and see if I can answer them. So first off, what is Confluence? Well, Confluence is, as I mentioned, it is Atlassian's wiki-style editing tool that serves for two general purposes: documentation and for information sharing with the organization. It's a powerful reporting mechanism within your Atlassian tool suite, so that it can be the one of the primary sources of information within your entire organization to view. And then if you are using Jira Service Management alongside of this, your knowledge base articles are stored in Confluence, and then they can display seamlessly in the portal, even by those who don't have a Confluence license. They're just simply your JSM customers. As they're making requests on the portal, they can see your knowledge base articles to help them resolve their requests. What you're going to see as we look at Confluence is that it's incredibly flexible and extensible. And so there are lots of ways to help how your particular organization uses Confluence and use it efficiently and effectively in your organization. A couple of things about, just to show you, excuse me, a couple of visuals about this is, how does this fit into your organization? Excuse me. Well, it's possible that before something like this tool, where were you people going to get information? And so the question could be something like, well, where would I find this particular policy? Well, it's on our intranet page. Who do I contact about this particular procedure? Well, we sent you an email 6 months ago about who to contact for these things. Do you not have that email anymore, etc.? And so how people get access to information can be streamlined through something like Confluence. In other words, your people go to Confluence, and then the information they need is either on Confluence or linked to Confluence. And so they can get more efficient access to the appropriate information that they need to have in there. As to the structure of Confluence itself, if you're familiar with Jira, um, Jira uh, up until this week had something called projects. They're now called spaces. Um, and inside of those spaces are your used to be called issues are now called work items. Well, the structure for Confluence is it's also now it has always been called spaces, and then it contains pages and other types of content that we'll take a look at a little bit later. Um, the pages then can contain text, links to internal or external resources, cross references to other content in Confluence, attachments. Um, we can also look at different ways to format the content or the navigation of the content using something called macros. And so I'm going to try and show you a couple of examples of um, ways to display the content and how different organizations might be using Confluence itself. So let's first off, um, if we're talking about the actual spaces themselves, and well, then who should have a space? Well, um, that really is up to your organization itself. Um, we, as I talk about governance topics along the process and and toward the end of our discussion, we highly recommend that there be a governance space in your Confluence instance so that it has the guiding principles as to how Confluence is going to be used within your organization, and this is where that information can be held. It could be doesn't have to be an IT related. It might be just the department itself. So accounting, HR, recruiting, library, etc. might have their own place where they hold their meeting notes, policies, um, whatever information they need to both share with just their department or with the rest of your organization as well. Um, the expected use probably is going to be your Jira uh, projects, now called spaces, um, but it could be the team, your IT team, or even divided it into multiple teams with their different projects involved. So your security team, your UI team, your QA team, they may have all their own particular spaces to manage the information they need to both complete their steps of progress and then also be able to report on those items with leadership, with stakeholders, etc. And then um, every uh, every Confluence instance, when a new user is added, gets their own personal space, and that might be the place where you keep temporary items. Um, if you're using Confluence to uh, crowdsource or use the social aspects of it, this is where blogging can take place, where people can follow for influencers within your organization, etc. So there's a variety of uses for who can actually utilize this as well. Um, let's take a look then at the actual options on the page of a space itself. So this is a Confluence space, and in full disclosure, this is a Confluence Cloud instance, and it is a premium license, which means it is including some things that are not available on standard. So things like calendars, which I'll show you a little bit later, something called analytics, which is some of the analytics options are being offered to standard licenses now, but a way to analyze the usage and um, uh, interactivity with your pages on your spaces itself. It also includes Atlassian Intelligence AI, now called Rovo, which is a pretty powerful tool itself that's in there. We'll also take a brief look at some of the automation options that you can do with your pages, and then some new features that are added, like databases whiteboards, which are also part of standard, but are extended in the premium license. And then if you are a Confluence user, you may have noticed over the last few months that the UI has been updated quite a bit. And so maybe getting used to just for instance, the navigation, what used to be on the across the top menu of options is now along the sidebar as you're navigating through this. If you're new to Confluence, let's talk about some of just the basic things that this can do. Again, it is a wiki-style editing tool, and so as I look at this, I'm seeing some basic things that it can do. I'll go over these kind of quickly, just because probably you're already familiar with a lot of these functions or capabilities. But the ability to have headings, formatting text, bulleted items, bulleted lists, numbered lists. Those are all pretty common. I'll open this up into edit mode just to show you what some of these items look like, because you also include what's called, you see the editing toolbar, which can be either pinned or be more contextual in the location of where you are. This is a new feature that got turned on, so that you don't always have to come up to the top of the page to select your formatting options. But you're seeing basic text options, um, formatting, color, highlighting. This is a new tool that you can actually highlight the text itself. And then you also have some options as far as text alignments, bulleted number lists. There are something called action items, which you can add to your text. You can mention someone in the instance, and they will be notified that they have an action item assigned to them. You also have date options that you can place in here. Very common options from there. We'll talk about linking and attachments in a little bit. Heavy use of emoji. But then the next portion is not only the actual managing of the look and feel of the content, but where it plays on the screen itself, using what are called layouts. And this is a layout that has essentially what's called a right sidebar layout, but there are up to you can have 1, 2, 3 column or left or right sidebar on theirs. This is also recognizing tables. So this is a simple table that's on here, but in cloud, underneath the table itself, you can convert the information of your table into chart options as well. Simple charts. This is a bar chart, pie chart, but it's using the exact same information based upon your table itself. You can also copy and paste from other apps that either spreadsheet versions or a table from your document management, Word, etc., and copy and paste, and it will paste into this using that same formatting cell. Another option that comes with, because it is a wiki-style editor and because it's in a shared location, as long as the people viewing the page also have edit rights to the page, you can have what's called simultaneous editing, which you're probably familiar with if you're using a SharePoint document, Teams, or Google Docs, etc., where you can have more than one person editing the document at the same time. We use this at Valiantys for things like when we're having our sync meetings with our clients. We will create the meeting notes page, and have more than one editor at the same time. That way, one person can be presenting a topic while the other is taking notes, and you can pass back and forth, or we use them for somebody is taking the notes and someone else is watching for action items to take place, etc. So great tool for that. Um, Confluence has added, though, a recently new feature called LiveDoc. And LiveDoc doesn't require publishing because it's constantly active, and as you're editing it, it's updating on the fly. We're seeing this being used in a couple of situations now. Things like for meeting notes. If you are using another feature, by the way, if you're using Loom, which is Atlassian's video tool, Loom can um, can monitor your meetings and collect notes into a live doc page in your space. We're seeing this being used more and more lately as Atlassian is pushing forward with their AI encouragement tools, Rovo, et cetera. But Loom taps into that as well and can be used to, again, automatically create these pages. It's a great little tool for doing those things. So that's another feature that I want to talk about. Commenting. There are comments available both inline, internal with the project itself, and then people have the ability to reply to that, et cetera. You can resolve these as well. But then comments can also be at the bottom of the page. Let me show you that too. So if you want to have comments about the overall page itself, or you can have the inline comments that are of particular selections of text. Both are appropriate. These are threaded comments and at the bottom of the page, so people can reply to them as well. You also have access to really the full reporting, full formatting toolbar that you had when you're in the page itself. So you can really make um, uh, visual and meaningful content even in the comments section from there as you're working in that. Let me move on into then additional content here. Linking. We'll talk about attachments in a little bit, but if your content lives somewhere else, Confluence handles linking content very purposefully, and I think with some great options that are in here. Let me open this up again in edit mode. And talk about these links. So first off, you can link to another page in your Confluence instance. It doesn't even have to be in the same space. It can be somewhere else as long as you have access to do so. But you can display these as this is called the inline. You also have what's called, you have just the URL itself. There's something called a card or embed. So this is the inline. This is the card view. And then you can also just simply embed the entire page, which speaks to one of the governance principles of you maintain the content in one location, but then you might share it in multiple locations so that you have a single source of content that might be viewed by more than one place. So it really handles those well. An external link, this is the card view of an external link, but you can also just do the URL or the inline again. This is a link to a Google Doc. You can also link to a SharePoint file if you need to, but it just, again, shows you this. And then this is the embed feature of a document, where, again, this does not live in Confluence. It lives in the Google Docs folder, but it's displaying it in there. And if I happen to have edit rights to this, I can not only view the document, I could make edit changes in this. So without having to go to the location, I'm bringing the location to the page itself to manage that. And then how it handles media links. It automatically gives you the opportunity to embed the media so that they, again, would not have to leave the page to view the content. So this is one of our YouTube videos. We have an extensive library of YouTube videos. I'll show you the channel in a little while. But imagine also you've got your learning management system and you have video content from there. You can link to that. Your however it's managed, you could put links to it and it will display the media file into your page directly from there. There is another content page type, by the way, called a smart link. And with a smart link, what you can do is, as its own page type, have a link to a video there, and there's a number of things that you can have as a smart link itself. Basically, if the content is online and it's shareable, it can be displayed as a page in your Confluence space. And so this is a really useful and new way to display the content, or you can use the links in a page itself. But let's also talk about attachments. While we encourage the governance principle of leaving the source material where it's originally kept, but certainly there are going to be times when you need to attach, images or decision trees, etc., and you can certainly attach those from there. So here is an attached image, and the image even has a word wrap option. So here I can put this to the right of the text, or you can put it to the left if you want to, but images are easy to do. This is a PDF, and this is using a macro called PDF macro, where I can attach the PDF and people can scroll through the document without having to necessarily open it or download it themselves. They certainly can click to open this in their browser viewer or to download the attachment, but this is a way to display the content itself. You can also, there are also several other types of ways to attach files where they get a small thumbnail preview of it, and then they have the ability to download if they want to. Here is something called the attachments macro itself, which the files, you don't see them on the page, but they are still attached to the page. And your viewers then have the ability to view, access, or download if they need to. How we use that, by the way, is if we are having, say, for instance, a monthly sync meeting with the stakeholders of a project, we might capture that information that was given at that time essentially printing the page itself as a PDF and then storing that as an attachment. So if people want to see previous um, meeting notes, they can do it that way, just for archive purposes. Now, I've used the word macro a couple of times, and let me dig a little bit more into what the macros are. Macro can be kind of an intimidating term if you're not highly technical, but Confluence doesn't mean it to be that intimidating. It's meant to be um, a, a way to. It does one of two things really. It formats the look and feel of the content on your page, and it can also help with navigation to other pages or et cetera. So let's take a look at a couple of examples of them. So you've already seen the PDF attachment one and the attachments macro. But for as far as things like content formatting, the information panel macros are great. We use these a lot. Great ways to control the look and feel of the content. And built in, there are 5 already there: success, information, warning, note, error. You also have the ability to create your own info panel macro. And there's a couple of other colors you can choose. You can change the emoji that's showing, or have no emoji at all. And in that case, it becomes a way to have a colored background behind your text. Again, great way to visually draw the eye to particular content. There's also something called a status macro, which is simply a button, or as Atlassian calls it, a lozenge, where you insert the text, choose a color. We use this on status reports to let us know, you know, we are blue in progress, green we are completed, gray to do still. And so it's a great way to add those on there. A great way to manage what's vertical scroll options is what's called the expand macro, where you then have a title if you want, and then you put the context in it, and then people can choose to expand or not. I'll show you in our engagement page example how we might use that. But it's a great example. It's a great way to, again, control vertical scrolling. And so you might have, say, for instance, a list of policies, and you have each policy on the page itself. Well, then they expand to read the policy or not. Or another example, your QA team has their procedures, and if there are 4 or 5 steps involved in that, or tasks, well, they can expand the task to see what the steps are behind what to complete that's on there. And then as they get more familiar with it, they just need to know the names of the processes from there. So again, a great tool for that. As far as navigation goes, then you have your things like your table of contents, which is using the headings on your pages so that you can determine which headings to use and help you navigate on the pages. So there's also something called a page tree, which you can see that the pages, this is not even the same space, this is another space that I'm showing, but I can navigate to various pages on another space from there. This is what makes Confluence such an important tool in the Atlassian tool suite, though, is how tightly it integrates with Jira. Um, and it can work in both directions. So this is a link to a a work item, formerly called an issue, in a Jira space, formerly called a project. And if I have view rights to the space in Jira, I can also see it here. And if I have edit rights to the space, I can actually begin to edit this work item from the Confluence page instead of going all the way. And I don't have to go back into the Jira itself and save the changes. And I'm writing to the work item in the Jira space as well. This can also be like the other links. It could be just a link using the URL, the inline. In this case, this is the embedded issue. Here is the card view of the same issue. And again, I have the ability to, I personally don't have the permission for that, but I have the ability to edit in here, okay? So it respects the permission scheme that's being used by the space in Jira itself, which is good to know. That way you can display content, but if they don't have edit permissions, you're not putting the work item at risk of making changes. As far as the other direction goes, you can select a text on your page, and you can create an issue from here as well. And so I can, we use this, by the way, after sometimes the meeting notes are published. We can then select text and create Jira work items from the page itself. And so it works both directions. This is another macro, which is a Jira search results, basically. And so this is looking at a project and wanting to see those particular issues. This is the exact same search used as a chart, as a pie chart. And so what you're beginning to see then is you have the ability to have the showing of the issues, the data itself, but then a visual showing as well, so that I can give somebody the information and perhaps a contextual graphic, in this case a pie chart, that might help people understand the impact of the data itself. And so this is some of the capabilities of this tool. Let me give you a couple examples then of how this might work for you as, say, a reporting tool for your projects. And I'm moving to another space. This is a typical space that we use when we are engaging with our client. We'll use this as our for our weekly sync meetings to register the work that we're doing. As far as the structure goes, you might see then this dashboard page. We might list then who the team members are of the page. As we're working on a project, we'll have a risk register to show based upon the project that we're working on with the client. Make sure that everybody's aware of the risk involved. The meeting notes pages that are in here as well. And the meeting notes, by the way, are using a template that Confluence provides you with. There are 140 plus, I think, new templates available on a variety of topics and uses that you can use. And so you don't have to rely just upon your own initiative to create pages from there. This is, again, a great tool that is available to you as the template itself. And then we might break this down also, depending on what the options are. If this is going to be a migration from data center to cloud, etc. So we might then what is the plan? What is the run book? What apps are we analyzing? What integrations do we have to work with? And then perhaps also the cadence of your agile team meetings. So again, just to show you the structure of how this might look. And then let's take a look at the actual dashboard itself and why you might use this as your reporting location. Remember, all the actual source of truth of the work is taking place in Jira, but this might be the place that you are reporting on the project with the project team, with stakeholders, with other people involved. And one of the reasons is that as we start to look at all these features, you're seeing just how extensible this really is. And so because it is, you can manage not only the content, but the look and the feel of the content. You can show them the data and then discuss the data with text so that it is consumable and in some cases interactive if they need to write to the Jira project as well. So we think because of a couple of reasons that you not only present the message, you can control the message in Confluence itself. Sometimes your stakeholders don't want to go to the Jira space or even a Jira dashboard to look at things. They can actually get the information they need from here. And because it's so easy to update, we're finding that maybe that's the place. Again, your project team or your space team in Jira probably is going to stay in Jira itself. But when you're reporting to people that aren't in the project on a regular basis, this could be the great place to do those things. So what's on this dashboard that we typically, again, this is a very common way that we do this with our clients. This is using all those things that we showed you. So a layout of a 2-column layout. On the left might be the summary. This is just a table that's in here. There's your status macro. Confluence Premium comes with a feature called calendars. And we will typically add a calendar to the engagement page. We use it for showing major events of the project itself. We'll also list people's out of office time, PTO, etc., and holidays, just to help visualize availability of your resources or main events taking place. This is a link to a plan. What was formerly called Advanced Roadmaps is now called Plans in Jira. And it is interactive. They can even change the view that they're looking at. They can filter. They're not actually creating items in here, but they have a great way to view this. And so if you're using plans in Jira, this is a great way to display that content for, again, your stakeholders to view and work with that. By the way, we have a whole class that we can talk about advanced roadmaps plans with you if you like, and how to utilize that if you're not utilizing that tool in your instance. And then a series of filter results. And so this is looking at, we'll often use this, what's been done in this past week, what's currently in progress, what's now still in the backlog or still in the to-do portions. And so we can have that as well. Here, using the info panel to just sort of give you information, get to show up what you're looking at. And then another series of both filter results and the pie chart, the same filter, so that you can see not only the information, these are tagged with different labels, but how that can be displayed. Here we're using the attachments macro again, where on a monthly basis we're capturing the this page and then storing it as attachments on the page itself. Here typically we would put in the statement of work so that people can always know what's in scope and what's not in scope as we're discussing the progress of our project with an engagement. So you're seeing lots of information here that, again, this is a typical way that we might use this for an IT project. But I'd like to switch to another sample that's not IT at all, but how they might use the space as well. And so I'm going to switch over now to another space. This is the marketing department. And they have on theirs using this is another template called Meet the Team. And it does the layout for you, and then you just fill in the content. And so a series of tables using color. The macros are recent updates. And then this is just a table with links to different content that's in there. And then here's the team, etc. They also have their calendar and then links to further content. They also have the marketing department is built upon 5 different teams, and they have on this cover page. This is using a page info macro that is grabbing content from each of these pages and summarizing these things into this table so that you can see the overall progress. And then you can also dig into each of the different of their own teams, and they have again their own team space, similar to our engagement space, but it's suitable to their use. Again, they're also using meeting notes. Again, this is a template that you can use. But then they're using smart links to additional content. They're linking to, this is a Miro board. Again, they simply copy and paste the link to the board in here, and you can display it onto as a smart link in your space. This is a Trello board. Trello is another Atlassian tool. It's a simple pull table or board of tasks that you can manage. This is, and it can also be, it's getting more and more sophisticated. If it's just a simple, my group needs to move tasks across the board to completion, great. Otherwise, I have a couple of colleagues at Valiantys. This is how they manage their personal lives with their own personal Trello board. So again, another great use of that. I mentioned Miro, but there also is in Confluence now a whiteboarding tool, which is again becoming more and more integrated with Jira. You can link to Jira work items. You can create from there. You can show that information. There are several built-in templates with whiteboards. So depending on what type of whiteboard you want to have, it's becoming a great tool that we're finding some of our colleagues, and including us, are using instead of third-party whiteboarding tools. You might find this interesting. And so I encourage you to see that, check that out. Other ways that this particular one is set up, they are using, again, links to documents. Whether you have view access, these are just embedded Google Docs, but they can also be embedded to other docs from other locations. Whether you have, editing ability or not, you again can display. So this content is living somewhere else, but being displayed there. There's another content type in Confluence called database. And in this case, I have linked it to an actual project, a space in Jira. But there are lots of different types of content types you can have on your database, and then you can link it to other pages, etc., labels. So just another way to potentially display and manage information about your organization, your project, whatever it happens to be, and that's all available there. And then lastly, the calendar. I showed you the calendar itself, but this is the calendar feature. Again, it's a premium feature, but you can both create the project or create the calendar from Confluence, or you can link to, if you have a an external calendar already, you can simply subscribe to that one so that you don't have to manage it in one location. And then again, another smart link to a video as needed. So um, so again, you're just kind of seeing the layout of this particular page. So hopefully this is showing you a couple of different features, seeing all of the extensibility about what this particular tool can do for you. I'd like to talk about a couple of other features, especially from the admin side. But first, here comes the shameless self-promotion part. I'd like to talk a little bit about Valiantys itself. I don't know, how you came to this particular webinar. I don't particularly know, but um, let me talk a little bit about who Valiantys is. Valiantys is a platinum solutions partner, and that means we are at the highest tier of the Atlassian partner program. Atlassian also happens to be the largest platinum partner globally and in North America. We are on almost every continent. And so essentially the sun doesn't set on Valiantys anymore. And so what do we do? Well, we offer um, um, like what you're seeing here, training, but we can, um, so let me talk training first. Every Thursday at 11 a.m. Central Time, we offer a 1-hour webinar like you're attending now. We have a variety of topics, and they can be located on our training page under webinars and events. You can see, and so here is our webinar now, and the next one coming up. So those are the webinars and other online events that are free as far as content goes. And then we also have um, public classes that do have um, enrollment fees. We can also do private classes for your company. We have several of those, including there's for even this one. All the things that I'm showing you today, we can do in a 1-day boot camp with hands-on, so that you can actually not only see the features, but actually get to play with the features in a sandbox environment. We can offer that to your company. We do several different boot camps. For Jira, we have a 3-day boot camp, which is a deep dive into managing how to work with Jira itself. We have a 2-day Jira Service Management Bootcamp. We have a few others. We can help you with Jira Align and fitting in there. So we offer a lot of training. Other things that we do at Valiantys, we can help you with licensing. Um, we can help you with managing the licensing um, for the annual renewals as you need as needed, um, and make those adjustments to license tiers as needed. We can do that. A largest part of what we do, though, is we do a lot of consulting work. So people that are Atlassian customers will purchase Atlassian tools, but then we will help them implement, configure, install, migrate, upgrade. A lot of these things that we do. This is really what we do on a regular basis with our clients from there. And then also, if there's a need for any type of custom development, we have a team of full stack developers that if your Atlassian tools need to talk to another third-party tool in your instance, um, that's the kind of integrations that we can also help with, helping with your coding options. We have some award-winning um, uh, products that we've created that are on the marketplace uh, or have been recognized by Atlassian in their annual conference meetings. So I want to discuss a couple of other things that we have just a little bit of time left um, that are important to see as features as Confluence has been developing over, let's say, the last 2 years. They have added automation, and there's a growing list of available. I mean, these are templates that I'm telling you, last year there's probably 10 of these. Um, but there's all kinds of options here to help you um, organize your content. These are great tools for, especially if you're using this um, as a knowledge base for your JSM projects. Ways to tag and use things purposefully, um, set restrictions on pages, etc. Um, speak to other Atlassian projects, Atlassian apps, collaboration. A lot of these are wanting to link in with, say, Loom or use Rovo, the AI tool, to help you work with things. The ability to set page statuses for people to see when things are on there, notifications of items when something is created or updated, who to notify on these things. What they're trying to do is anything that is a repetitive task that could potentially be automated. I mean, something as simple as you have a weekly sync meeting. You could have an automation that automatically creates the meeting page for that particular meeting. And I know that's a couple of clicks, but if you could automate it, it can do those things for you. So it's consistent, it is efficient, and it's following the governance tool of following whatever processes you have of consistent look and feel of those things. This is also a great way to manage content that um, as your content is aging, and you can check to see if it's been viewed in the last 6 months, or just simply updates. Every 6 months, you want to check to see if the page is still accurate and needs to be updated. Well, that's what your automation rules can do for you from there. Here is the analytics page, and this is where it just, again, it's showing who has been accessing your page, who are the most active contributors. This is not Google Analytics, but it is a tool to show you some of the types of a certain level of interactivity that you're having with your space. So you're seeing a lot of features here, a lot of extensibility, and so I want to spend a couple minutes talking about the concept of governance. Because this is so flexible, um, there's not a lot keeping you from making a disorganized mess. And so, um, as my colleague says, if you don't have governance on this, you're going to amplify the dysfunction of your organization. And so, um, governance is the guidelines for how you're going to um, manage and maintain the content for the main purposes of trying to avoid confusion and or unnecessary duplication of your content. And so, um, for instance, I mean, people will look for a page, they don't see it because of their search criteria, and so they'll create it themselves. And in the end, it's duplicate information in multiple locations, which is one of the guiding principles of governance, is that you should have a single source and display in multiples. And so there's some basic ideas that we would recommend. In fact, we can even offer um, a day governance boot camp that talks about this. Just some basic guidelines as far how you want to do. So you want to accomplish basically two things. You want to standardize the content, things like naming conventions, uh, and the overall structure of your spaces. And then the second thing is permissions. Who gets to see this information? Who gets to edit the information? Who gets to create the information? Those two basic topics are really important that you as an organization should have really before unleashing Confluence on your organization. Um, but this is also one of the things that we end up finding as consultants, helping organizations clean up their instances uh, to do so. Um, if you're interested in more information about this, please reach out to us. We'll be delighted to have a conversation with you from there. Um, I have covered a lot of information in a short amount of time and scattered. So one of the things I want you to know that this will be recorded and placed in our YouTube channel. So that if you need to share this with other decision makers, stakeholders in your organization, it will be available. But hopefully you'll see that this is a really powerful tool for documenting and reporting on your projects and departments and teams in your organization. And it's a great centralized knowledge sharing portal as well. I don't see any questions in the Q&A, but I just want to pause for a moment to see if there are any questions in here. Sometimes we ask our questions about permissioning of a particular space. There are two levels of permissions. You can actually control who can see the space at all. And so if this really is an executive executive committee space that doesn't need to be seen by the rest of the organization, you can limit the viewing and the editing to just those people. You can also do that at the page level itself. There is a sharing control for individual pages. And so we talk about this in our, if you're using JSM with your knowledge base articles, you could have both your technical articles for your agents to see only, and then you might have your customer facing articles. And you simply control that. They can live in the same space, but you control it with page um, page restrictions. Great way to do that. So um, again, I hope that this has been beneficial for you and that maybe it's shareable if necessary. We've looked at a lot of stuff as far as Confluence goes. If this is prompting you to have further questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to have that conversation with you without obligating you to any type of engagement. But if it leads to that, that's great as well. Um, again, my name is Tony Hartsfield. I am a consultant with Valiantys, and you have just experienced the introduction to Confluence webinar. I thank you for your time, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.